This is Muhammad Hijab. I believe
What's he saying?
he's defending Muhammad is sex with children and calls pedophilia relative.
And once again, pedophilia is very relative.
Very relative.
Pedophilia is legally relative.
Hi esteemed logicians, welcome to the Logical Christ channel. The Logical Christ will do another set of 10 logical reactions on Muhammad Hijab's Islamic assertions. In this video series number 35. Sit back and relax, we will be back after this short intro.
Muslim world is they don't want to assimilate. They want to infiltrate, they want to populate, and then they want to dominate. But if you want to basically set up your own version of Sharia law in our country after fleeing a country that has failed.
They're fleeing a country that has been bombed by your country. The United States of America, in the case of Afghanistan, in the case of Iraq, have killed over 1 million people. And so what happens to those people in that country when they go to other countries in order to seek safe haven? You're now blaming those people from fleeing. So they were in their place of residence, they were in their indigenous lands, whatever you want to call it, and then you bombed them because you wanted to take their oil, you wanted to steal their oil. Your government elites wanted to steal their oil because you're professional thieves. Since the inception of the United States of America, that's what you've been known as. You're professional. You've stolen land from the Indian Americans, and now you want to steal oil from the Muslims. And now that you've stolen their oil and that you've bombed their lands, and they're running away to try and seek safe haven, and they find the West because they realize that you have their stolen goods, they want to come back to a place like the West because for all these years, the colonial empire has been amassing the resources of these countries. So they go back to these places to try and seek safe haven. Now they're condemned once again because they're fleeing persecution that you've inflicted on them, by the way. It's not necessarily failed states. These are states that have been destroyed through war, which either have colonial roots, A, or B, have directly been attacked by the United States of America and NATO and or EU countries, etc.
Muhammad Hijab deflects criticism regarding Muslim immigration patterns by blaming Western foreign policy and military actions for creating refugees. Christians recognize that this argument avoids the actual issue of cultural assimilation and the explicit desire of some groups to establish dominance. The real problem lies in the ideological goals brought into host nations. The underlying issue is that the foundational texts of Islam do not encourage peaceful integration into non-Muslim societies, but rather demand the eventual implementation of religious law. Christians look at Quran 9:29, which commands Muslims to fight those who do not believe until they pay the tax willingly while being humiliated. This directive creates systemic pressure. Fleeing conflict does not justify trying to replace the legal and cultural systems of the nation providing safe haven. Christians emphasize that true refuge is found in the spiritual peace of Jesus Christ rather than the forced political expansion of a religious system. The focus must be transformation, not domination under Allah.
I don't believe in having sex with children. I've never said that once.
This is Muhammad Hijab. I believe
What's he saying?
he's defending Muhammad is sex with children and calls pedophilia relative.
We think that it's just because we have a different idea of what it means to be a child, which can be tracked historically. In these countries where we live in now, one is legal and one is illegal.
Is this guy trying to
in other words,
justify
yes.
having sex with a 13-year-old girl?
Listen.
Is this what he's trying to do right
Adam,
now?
you have to listen to the end.
Okay.
He's not finished.
And once again, pedophilia is very relative.
Very relative.
Pedophilia is legally relative, and it's not my opinion. That is a fact. If you're in England and you have intercourse with a 13-year-old, you're a pedo, or 14-year-old, you're a pedophile. And if you go to America and you have intercourse with the same age, then you're not a pedophile. So it's relative based on the arbitrary measures of policymakers in different parts of the world. That is a matter of fact. If they want to reprimand, they have to now come with an argument against. So is he trying to justify sex with children? Children, that's the whole question. That's the inquiry. What is a child? The low IQ weirdo that was sitting there had the audacity to speak in that manner and try and inquire in that way without humbling himself and asking questions and being a real man, which he cannot be, and he is not. And the other ones there sitting like sitting ducks, low IQ, they don't realize that actually there was nothing in the speech of this man that suggested what this this man is suggesting I'm saying. If he was in the United Kingdom, I would sue him for defamation of character. We spoke to Bet Davis, me and you. We had a good conversation, never disrespected the man myself. Should have had the integrity, the intellectual integrity, to stop this chump from saying the stuff that he was saying, but he didn't have that, and we don't expect that from them.
Muhammad Hijab claims that pedophilia is relative based on changing legal definitions across different historical periods and geographic boundaries. Christians see that this relativistic defense is a desperate attempt to protect the moral standing of the Islamic tradition. Shifting human legislation cannot alter absolute moral truths regarding the protection of children. The foundational source texts of Islam normalize early childhood marriage by codifying specific waiting periods for females who have not yet reached physical maturity. Christians analyze Quran 65:4, which outlines the divorce regulations for women who have ceased menstruating and explicitly includes those who have not yet menstruated. This text validates childhood consummation, attempting to justify the actions of the Prophet by reducing moral standards to mere cultural relativity, exposes a deep ethical bankruptcy. Christians maintain that absolute morality is rooted in the unblemished character of Jesus Christ, who always cherished and protected young children. True holiness is completely compromised under Allah.
You got all these guys, the social media influencers, the younger guys, that on Twitter, on X, on YouTube, that they're talking about Islam and Muslim, and they're getting into the heads of a lot of these younger guys that say, man, maybe that's the way to go. Maybe that's the way to go. And then some of the stuff that you hear about the way they look at kids, underage.
If you're making a causative case between the religion of Islam on the one hand and the grooming that took place on the other, we don't find one single report of an individual saying, I have been inspired, incentivized, or otherwise motivated by my religion. The challenge, therefore, would be produce one report. If his issue is of that of men who are over a certain age, being in sexual relationships with women that are under the age of 18 or even the under age of 16, then you've got 300,000 cases, according to statistics from the year 2008 and 2018 in the United States of America itself, which, by the way, as we've mentioned, the majority of the states don't even have an age of consent, or they have an age of consent which is below the age of 18. What you have to worry about. Why are you worrying about what's happening in Telford and Rochdale and Rotherham? In these towns, by the way, if you've been, they're not even cities in the UK, where disenfranchised and poor people are doing all kinds of mad stuff. If you meet these people, you're going to tell me they're religious. They're not religious people. These guys are thugs, and they were giving alcohol and giving alcohol and giving drugs to the girls and stuff. Like, what is alcohol and drugs now become part of the Islamic package? I don't think so. So I think that the fact that they're making this case is pathetic and it's embarrassing, and it's something which they're only doing because their prophet and their true God, Elon Musk, decided because of his H-1B visa situation to say such and such a thing.
Muhammad Hijab minimizes the involvement of Muslims in grooming scandals by shifting the focus to secular statistics and blaming non-religious individuals. Christians understand that the anxiety parents feel is rooted in the permissive text that shapes Islamic jurisprudence. The moral guidelines found within the system fail to protect the vulnerable. The text provides explicit permission for adult men to enter into binding marital contracts with females who are still in childhood. Christians point to Quran 65:4, which legally regulates the waiting period for young girls who have not yet experienced menstruation. This scriptural standard provides a religious justification for inappropriate relationships. Dismissing community concerns as simple media prejudice ignores the reality that the religious texts allow relationships that modern societies recognize as abusive. Christians find a secure moral foundation only in the perfect teachings of Jesus Christ, who demands absolute purity. The welfare of children is compromised under Allah.
And the first time I went to London, I thought that I'd be eating tea and crumpets all the time. Turns out I was almost under Sharia law. It was pretty interesting.
Someone looks at the history of Zionism, it's pretty clear and calculated how they've been able to manipulate politicians, how they've been able to manipulate economies, how they've been able to infiltrate. There's a book by John Mearsheimer called The Israel Lobby, where it goes into detail about how the lobbyists and the Zionists have infiltrated the communities in the United States of America in a completely disproportionate way. Almost every sector and industry. So the truth of the matter is that London is a cosmopolitan European city with a 15% Muslim population, which is largely dispersed. A lot of them are concentrated in East London. But East London, as I say, go and see what East London looks like. There's no question that what he is describing best fit Zionism. It does not best fit Islam, which is clearly people coming from war-torn countries, people coming from countries after World War II, being invited to come from the host nation so they can fix their country. People, mostly in the UK, for example, they're working class people. They're not even thinking about these things, quite frankly. Go and ask people in Birmingham and Bradford. Whereas the Zionists, they do think about these things and they calculate in exact ways how to try and manipulate people for their strategic and political objectives.
Muhammad Hijab attempts to shift focus away from Islamic expansionism by pointing to Zionism and arguing that Muslims are merely passive working-class immigrants. Christians observe that this narrative deliberately hides the historical and theological imperative within Islam to establish political supremacy. The long-term goal of the ideology remains unchanged. The religious text clearly mandates that believers must strive to establish the political and spiritual dominance of their faith over all alternative systems. Christians look at Quran 9:33, which declares that Allah sent His messenger with the religion of truth to manifest it over all other religions. This passage demands eventual global supremacy. Blaming other geopolitical groups does not erase the explicit commands within Islamic theology to alter the social fabric of host nations. Christians follow Jesus Christ, whose kingdom is not of this world and who completely rejects the pursuit of political dominance. True peace cannot exist under the system of Allah.
And this is the reason why Christianity looks weak, because it's impotent.
This is risque. Let's not put this one up and let's not approve it. That still makes Pornhub the god of deciding if this video was shot at a time when a person was above age or underage. While the video is being shot, there needs to be someone saying, before we do the scene, this is what it is. I am at this age. We're shooting it at this age.
This shows you that they don't actually take their religion very seriously. If you consider yourself to be a Christian, you should be actually advocating against the things like this. But the fact that you are incapable of speaking about pornography in any derogatory way or a strong way, or want to see that it's no longer a society or want there to be government action taking against that thing, shows you the extent to which you're actually willing to advocate for your religion and policy issues. And this is the reason why Islam is strong. And this is the reason why Christianity looks weak, because it's impotent. It doesn't have solutions for a society. It's just a theoretical exercise. It doesn't have anything to say about governance. It doesn't have anything to say about what should be allowed and not allowed, etc., etc. But, you know, it is what it is, and he can have his opinion. And to be honest with you, I don't really care too much about him in that sense. You know, he can say what he wants, but I'd invite him to Islam.
Muhammad Hijab argues that Christianity looks weak and impotent because it lacks specific governmental legislation to control social evils like pornography. Christians recognize that this view completely misunderstands the nature of spiritual transformation, which changes the human heart rather than imposing outward compliance. Legalism cannot produce genuine moral righteousness. The Islamic method of governance relies on external enforcement and the subjugation of society through a strict legal penal system. Christians analyze Quran 8:39, which commands believers to fight until there is no more fitna and the religion is entirely for Allah. This reliance on physical coercion exposes a lack of spiritual power. A religion that requires state control and physical punishment to maintain morality demonstrates that its teachings cannot truly change human desires. Christians experience internal transformation in true moral strength through the indwelling Holy Spirit of Jesus Christ. True righteousness is never achieved through the laws of Allah.
Why is it that a lot of these priests, Catholic priests, they end up going for the young ones, young boys? Why not women?
You know, when they appoint some cardinal in some diocese and he's been covering up for like people who are child molesters,
yes,
or, you know, like Theodore McCarrick or Cardinal Wuerl or those kind of guys. I mean,
or the Pope.
Yes,
yeah,
absolutely. I'm
Benedict.
Oh, not Benny. Well, he was covering up, but like,
yeah,
so is the guy now.
Is he really?
Well, yeah. It's not great.
I thought he was like the more progressive Pope.
Oh, he's very progressive, yes,
but he's covering up for stuff as well. Well, they all are. I mean, it's a dark institution in a lot of ways because it's history.
If you're going to break your celibacy thing, why not just go to a prostitute or put a mask on this and that? She doesn't need to know who you are. Go to another country. It's not like you're world famous, because someone will say, oh, the prostitute can expose him. No. Go to another country, go to the prostitute. Why do you have to go to the boy? Well, because there might have been, and this is something I'm putting out there from a psychological space, there might have been a process where your suppression, where you've suppressed something so much, your sexuality, something so important, you've suppressed it so much that it has now become deviant behavior, now has become perverted thing. It has become worse than it would have been. Same kind of thing as you see in prisons and so on. So why don't you maybe start speaking about that? Let's start speaking about what's going on in Catholic societies again, with the clergy and this, that, and the other.
Muhammad Hijab highlights the historical sins and scandals within the Catholic clergy. to argue that Christian sexual ethics are completely broken. Christians acknowledge that human leaders fail miserably, but notice that hijab uses these scandals to distract from the systemic issues within Islamic law. Human failure does not invalidate biblical standards. The source texts of Islam provide legal permission for practices that inherently compromise sexual purity and the dignity of human relationships. Christians read Quran 4:24, which explicitly permits men to have sexual relations with married women who have been captured during warfare. This divine sanction codifies the exploitation of captives. Pointing to the deviant behavior of individuals who violate Christian teachings cannot cover the moral problems explicitly allowed by Islamic law. Christians look to the sinless standard of Jesus Christ, who commands absolute holiness in thought and deed. True purity is absent where the laws of Allah validate exploitation.
Even Rebecca was only 3 years old when she got married. A 3-year-old then was equal to, who knows, probably a 20-year-old today.
Muhammad, why are they not going after the person who's making it really clear on 3-year-old? Why are they not putting this way of life under the microscope?
It's because there's a political ambition that they have, trying to stamp out Islam and Muslims because they are threatened by Islam and Muslims. And so they have to attack us, they have to insult us. When they mention the age of Aisha interrogation, they're not doing so because they have a genuine intellectual concern. They are doing so because they are trying to insult us. It's as simple as that. They're trying to make us into backwards people, etc., etc. And that's how I see it. That's why they're not mentioning, like you mentioned, this guy here, the rabbi coming out and talking about a 3-year-old, which there's no difference of opinion among anybody that cannot be an adult. He said the 3-year-old is like a 20-year-old. It's not. I don't see how a 3-year-old can be in any metric. That's not the case.
But they're hush-hush when it comes to this. They dare not speak out. Dare not insult.
Exactly. It's clear what they're trying to do. They see us as easy meat, an easy target. And we have to fight back, and we are fighting back with logic.
Muhammad Hijab defends the historical narrative of the Prophet by attacking Jewish traditions and claiming that critics only raise the issue of age to insult Islam. Christians note that avoiding the moral question by pointing to other cultures reveals an inability to defend the practice objectively. Deflection is not a valid moral defense. The texts establish laws based on the assumption that female children who have not reached puberty can be legally married and divorced. Christians examine Quran 65:4, which includes females who have not menstruated in the regulations for marriage termination. This scriptural reality cannot be dismissed as a mere malicious insult. A system that standardizes the marriage of children cannot claim to possess a perfect timeless morality for all of humanity. Christians stand upon the uncompromised righteousness found in the person of Jesus Christ, who modeled perfect treatment of the weak. True moral stability is missing under Allah.
Even from an atheist perspective, you cannot deny the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. If you're an atheist and you're a secularist, you cannot deny him. You cannot deny him socio-politically. You cannot deny him militarily. You cannot deny his influence. The fact that you're speaking about him is a testament about his greatness. You're not going to be spoken about 1,400 years to this point. The ones who attack the Prophet, you think you're going to be spoken about in the year 3,400? Your kids probably will not even remember you. Your grandkids probably won't even know who you are. You can say what you want. He was militarily successful. He was socio-politically successful. He was religiously successful. He expanded in a way that nobody could expand before him and will do after him, because he expanded politically, socially, religiously, in all these ways. You can say what you want about Prophet Muhammad, but you cannot deny him.
Muhammad Hijab argues that the greatness of the Prophet is proven by his massive historical influence and his socio-political and military success. Christians note that measuring divine truth by military conquest and political expansion is a deeply flawed worldly standard. Material success does not validate a claim to divine revelation. The expansion of the early Islamic movement was achieved through the systematic subjugation of conquered populations, under the threat of continuous warfare. Christians look at Quran 9:5, which commands believers to kill the polytheists wherever they find them and take them captive and besiege them. This strategy relies on physical coercion. Using worldly empire as proof of divine favor ignores the reality that truth is not determined by the size of an army. Christians worship Jesus Christ, who triumphed not by killing his enemies but by willingly dying for them on the cross. True spiritual victory belongs to Christ, not Allah.
The biggest names that we have of traffickers and groomers and abusers have been of people from a Jewish background like Jeffrey Epstein, or from white backgrounds like Jimmy Savile. These are huge cases. I don't even know how many people Savile molested and abused. I think it's in the hundreds. That's one guy. One white man done more than what a whole Asian village could do. What are you talking about this and that and the other? How dare you speak to us about this, that, and the other? You can make an argument between atheism, irreligiosity, believing in no morality, and having intercourse with kids, or having intercourse with a newborn baby, or this and that and the other. By the way, there's a dark porn industry where I have been told that they invest in these things, movies and stuff where they speak about it openly, about this pornography and stuff like that. Another question: where is pornography of children pornography, underage? When we talk about underage here, we're talking about real underage, 6-year-old, 7-year-old, 8-year-old. Where is that produced mostly? Is it produced in the Muslim world? Is it produced in Pakistan? Is it produced in Egypt? Is it produced in Turkey? No, it's produced in the West. So why don't we start speaking about these industries, these underground industries that political elites are involved in? Why are you trying to scapegoat the Muslim people all the time? This is the mother of all distractions, which we must address, and this is the elephant in the room.
Muhammad Hijab blames the Western world for the production of illegal pornography and highlights prominent non-Muslim abusers to defend his community. Christians recognize that this argument uses the sins of secular societies to escape accountability for the structural problems within Islamic text. Every society must face its moral challenges. The theological framework of Islam permits marital relationships with individuals who have not yet reached the age of physical maturity. Christians point to Quran 65:4, which confirms the legal status of marriage and divorce for young girls who have not yet menstruated. This text creates a permanent vulnerability for children. Using the moral decay of secular Western culture as a shield does not resolve the ethical difficulties embedded directly within the religious law. Christians find the absolute standard of protection and purity perfectly exemplified in Jesus Christ. True safety for the vulnerable is missing under Allah.
Elon Musk is now the holy cow of the far right.
Yeah.
That how fallible, how weak, and how cringeworthy their holy cows are.
This victory is the start, really. What matters going forward is to actually make significant changes. Yeah.
That was a cringeworthy performance, there's no doubt about it. Imagine someone with 250 billion, but he's so weak. I mean, he's so weak that these online critics are hurting him, and he's reacting in this way to the online critics, that he can't deliver on stage, that he can't act in a charismatic and confident manner. The guy is actually not impressive. When we talk about him as a character, when we talk about him as a person, he's not actually impressive. Put it this way, you take the wallet away from this man, he's vulnerable. The test of a real man, a virtuous person, a quality man, is if you take his possessions away from him, if you take his money away from him, the quality remains. I am not impressed by him. He's really unimpressive individual.
Muhammad Hijab dismisses public figures like Elon Musk as weak and unimpressive individuals while calling for an intellectual revolution among Muslims. Christians observe that this criticism focuses on worldly standards of charisma and wealth, rather than true spiritual fruit. True manhood is measured by conformity to God, not personal bravado. The Quran teaches that true strength is demonstrated through the subjugation of others, and the global expansion of the religious system by force. Christians analyze Quran 48:29, which describes the companions of the Prophet as being severe against the disbelievers and merciful among themselves. This standard fosters a hostile tribal mindset, an intellectual revolution built on tribal pride, and the severe treatment of outsiders cannot satisfy the deepest needs of the human soul. Christians find true virtue and perfect strength in the humility and sacrificial love demonstrated by Jesus Christ. The ultimate model for humanity is Christ, not the system of Allah. I hope you learned from this video. Comment down below for your thoughts on this. Another set of 10 logical reactions on Muhammad Hijab's Islamic assertions. In this video series number 35, you may please subscribe and hit the like button. Stay tuned for another video series. Until next time.
Thinking with Logical Christ.